Shocking interruptions at live event performances. I'm here for all of it. Yeah, I'm Nathan, a musician, a mortician, spent 13 years in the profession, which inspired the songs. Let's jump right in. 2007, do you remember Tim McGraw and Faith Hill? They're performing and they're on this tour. They have all such beautiful songs. Remember the song and they're in the bar and oh, it's so sweet. They are a love story, and you don't really see many in Hollywood where people stay together. Birds of a feather flock. Nonetheless, they're on tour together. If you remember this in 2007, and the woman who is a drunken woman, she's enjoying herself, but enjoying herself a little too much. She goes to grope Tim McGraw on stage. I think there's this element of where people feel that they have the right to someone of notoriety, someone who puts themselves out there, like the videos that we put out every single day, I feel like. Be sure to subscribe here on YouTube. Click the bell to be notified when I release content exclusive to, YouTube. I mean, we put videos out all the time. And there's this level of, which I relate to this, and that might be weird, me saying that, and be like, what? Faith Hill gets super pissed off, as she should. That's her husband, Tim McGraw. This woman gropes him, grabs him. Yeah, grabs him. I've had that happen before. I'm not married, and I wasn't married when this happened, but I can see where there'd be a lot of frustration. Faith totally lets the girl know, you crossed the line, sis, which she did cross the line. Let me know in the comments if you remember that event from 2007. Speaking of, we'll do a nice little parallel. Do you know Alicia Keys is performing with Usher at the Super Bowl halftime show, which Alicia Keys, if you do not know, is married to Swizz Beatz. Swizz Beatz comes out in her defense and says, it's fine. Usher can grope and dance all over Alicia. It's fine. But if you watch that video back, she's kind of like, she kind of stiffens up a little bit. What are your thoughts on that? Let me know in the comments below. I'm not here to judge anybody. But I do know that there's this level of, what's a line you just don't cross. And people who do a great job of it are those like Keanu Reeves. He is a true gentleman. If you look at any photo, you could Google right now Keanu Reeves and the photos he takes with fans, he doesn't ever touch them. He just puts his hands behind and he always is above like their shoulder blades. It's really nice. Let me know in the comments below if you've seen that too. And we're going to jump in, speaking of, to number 2. Pink's harness accident, 2019. She's in Nuremberg, Germany, I believe. And her harness, it is not attached properly. She has this swivel. If you have not seen her live show, I'm not in person, but I've seen it. There's a special on Amazon, which I love watching her. Her diaphragm, her control. She descended a building one time and is singing, but she flips around the stadium and she's going all over, but her harness was not attached properly on one side, and so whenever it goes to pull, she's going to be pulled up into the air. They take her all across the stadium. It pulls her simply to just one side. She's flung off of the stage, and you hear her audibly, oh shit, that hurt. It had to have hurt really bad. And I can't imagine what her team member, her dancer that helped get her, well, didn't, but was supposed to get her latched up, how they felt. Have you seen that? Let me know in the comments below. I'm going on tour, and that's what this is all in honor of. I'm going to be going on tour starting April 18th. I'll be in New York City. Yeah, it's somewhere nowhere. That's an incredible new venue. You should check it out. Visit nathanmorrismusic.com/tour. You can see all the dates as they kind of come in, but it's a free showcase event. We're really excited about it. And why am I talking about that? Oh, yeah, in honor of all of that. And I can't imagine having such a mishap such as that. It's bound to happen at some point because we're human and no one's perfect. Believe it or not. Let's go to number 3. Keith Moon's onstage collapse from 1973. You're probably too young to know this. He, not just once, but twice collapses during this particular show. And it was this particular show that they brought on a teenager to come and finish playing the Who's set. He was playing drums. Talk about a life-changing event. Whatever happened to that guy? You never know where you're at. Like, what could happen? It's kind of like when you watch Michael Bublé. He's notorious for going out there and finding someone in the audience, and they're like, I just haven't met you yet. And then he finds people that sing, so he says, arguably better than he, and it just catapults them in some way. It's pretty cool. People with like the guitar, and you see it happen on stage at different rock concerts. It's really something else. And the Killers talk about it in a podcast with the guys of Smartless, and they're talking about how one of their most meaningful shows was a girl spent all this time learning the drums to one of the Killers songs because her friend who is battling cancer, who is scared, her friend, the 16-year-old that learned the drums, surprised her at the show and said, I want to do something that really scares the hell out of me to hopefully inspire my friend who's facing such a challenge. And the Killers, like Brendan Flowers, he talks about how this girl killed it. Nonetheless, you just don't know where you're at. You don't know what could happen. But The Who collapses Keith Moon twice, and some teenager comes and just chops it up for the rest of the show. Kudos to him. Let me know in the comments if you've seen that video. I don't know if there's video of it, but let me know in the comments do you like The Who? It's 1972 at Lake Tahoe, and Margaret's near fatal fall. Yeah, she falls 22 feet from a platform, resulting in severe injuries that required major facial reconstruction surgery. Yet she returned to work just 10 short weeks later. 22-foot fall. There's a local amusement park called Holiday World. It's the cleanest park in the country, by the way. Free soft drinks, free sunscreen. That's the commercial. There's like a diving show, and I always look and watched as a kid. I'm like, they're going to smash their face. You just don't know. Heights scare me. I don't know why they talk about there being like this spatial awareness and blah. I don't know. It doesn't matter. You put me 10 feet, you put me on a 6-foot ladder, you put me on a 22-foot tall tower, and I'm bound to just crap myself and die. Let me know in the comments, what is something you are so fearful of? Could you imagine? And she's back 10 weeks later. It's kind of like the NASCAR drivers in the latest Netflix special, the wrecks they experience. Like, how do they get back behind the wheel? It's Ricky Bobby. He had a hard time. He was running around butt naked pretty much. Keith Richards' electrocution in 1965 Rolling Stone concert. His mic stand, he ends up getting electrocuted, unconscious, like for a moment, but he's able to perform the next day. The technology back in the day. Could you imagine playing like an outdoor festival, an outdoor event, anything where there's water? Kind of like Taylor Swift on the Eras Tour. She's over there playing, and the rain's raining on her mic, and she's got her in-ear pack in, and she doesn't get electrocuted. But, you know, Keith Richards, he got it. He got it bad. Usher. Keith Moon, Keith Richards, Keiths have the damnedest luck. Favorite Rolling Stone song? And go. Lon Chaney's personal drama. I'm not familiar with this, so I'm going to my handy-dandy notebook. The silent film star's wife, Cleva Creighton, attempted suicide by ingesting poison backstage at one of Chaney's performances in 1913, significantly impacting both of their careers. I couldn't imagine. Back then, they didn't definitely talk about mental health awareness, mental health of any kind. It was all taboo. This is right after World War I, before World War II. You have people coming back with PTSD. I'm not saying these are those people, but I'm just saying they have no idea what even PTSD is. So this attempt, it's like, we banish you from the industry. But I couldn't imagine the performance being on the other side and then they would just be it would be really bad. It would not be good. Jessica Chastain, again, was on SmartList, and she was talking about one of her most embarrassing moments performing on stage, and it was one of the first shows which made her change one of her habits. She said she vomited but kept it in her mouth and swallowed it. I'm just saying what Jessica said. And then within this show, she had to kiss somebody. Later, the curtains closed. She apologized for it profusely, but that is a terrible thing to have to experience. I can't imagine an attempt to take one's life, a spouse, while the other spouse. Anyway, those silent film stars, man, they had it bad. James Hetfield's pyrotechnic accident. You know James Hetfield from Metallica, 1992. He accidentally, I guess you would say, well, I would think it would be accidental. He goes and stands next to like a 12-foot tall flame, pretty much. If shoots the flame, it burns him second and third degree burns, but there wasn't a significant life-threatening injury, but definitely injury nonetheless. Have you ever had a burn? Let me know in the comments. Like, just you burn something, whether it be on soup. Have you ever burned it hurts like hell. I mean, can't imagine having a 12-foot flame shooting up at you. I was on tour with a band called Skillet, and they had pyro always. And I always thought to myself, because you could feel it. You could feel the heat no matter where you... I mean, that is a hot flames. Duh. And I would be so scared. I always wanted to stand, though, where they shoot the smoke out. Not just the smoke machines where it's just a constant so you can see the lights. I'm talking like the one that shoots it straight up into the sky. So high in the sky. That's what my kids say. Let me know in the comments below. Have you been to a Metallica show? I have. Yes, I have. That was the first time I saw a girl flash somebody. Now you know. I was a sophomore in high school. I was like, what? I'm giggling like a schoolboy. Stanford White's murder. The architect was shot and killed by Harry Kendall Thaw during a 1906 theater performance in a scandalous murder, motivated by Thaw's jealousy over White's relationship with Thaw's wife, Evelyn Nesbit. Wow, the webs we weave. You're telling me that the guy was shot and killed during the performance. That's crazy. I mean, we know of the most notorious performance where someone's shot and ultimately killed. And we'll get to that. You could probably fill in the blank there. Have you ever been to a theater show or a show in particular and something wild happened? Like, oh my gosh, did you know that during Prince's 2007 Super Bowl performance, there was a malfunction with cables of sorts? Talk about electrocution. There was a guy who spent 21 minutes, because that's how long the show is, holding manually 2 ends of a cable together like this so that there could be sound and lights and everything so that Prince could play his infamous Purple Rain guitar solo. True story. Let me know in the comments if anything crazy has happened at any live show and or theater show, something. Let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, click the bell to be notified when I release content. We do it all the time here on the tube that is known as YouTube. Great White Concert Fire. This I had not heard of, but it happened not too long ago. 2003 pyrotechnics set off by the band Great White ignited sound insulation at the Station nightclub, and it led to a fire that killed 100 people, including the band's guitarist, and injured over 200. Wow. I mean, you have Pulse nightclub, the shooting at the bar in Orlando, Florida. This is awful. It said that Aerosmith came to Owensboro, Kentucky Sports Center, where I'm from, and they had pyrotechnics that had a fire incident, and that's why they had stopped, and they banned shows for so long. Now they just have country artists there. They don't have no pyro. Maybe they do have pyro. I don't know. But this is a very sad, sad circumstance that I can't imagine or fathom being a part of and seeing the devastation, the sadness. I mean, they're there to put on a show. They're trying so hard to share their art, to share their creativity, to share these visuals that coincide with the art that they love, to connect with the crowd, to connect with their fans, and it leads to such destruction and sadness. Do you know of this? Let me know in the comments. And again, I guess the follow-up, I'll ask again, is there anything that's ever happened at a show or an event that you were a part of that was dangerous or scary, or you 1 degree removed from something? Let me know in the comments. And then last but not least, this is similar to that of the Stanford White murder that happened in 1906. Of course, President Abraham Lincoln's assassination. And the most infamous theater interruption, president was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth during a performance of Our American Cousin at Ford's Theater in 1865, marking a tragic event in American history, which arguably started, ignited, inspired the funeral profession. The full circle of an artistic experience, an event, and performance led to the murder and assassination and ultimate funeral service, because he was, for 19 days, taken up and down the train tracks, stopped, re-embalmed, so that people could pay their respects. Over 1 million people bore witness to his body because they loved their beloved president. But that would be so traumatic for anyone in that audience and crowd. Any of these, really, where there's such, I can't even think of the word. You're sitting there, you're trying to enjoy a play, and you know that the president is up in is just up there, and you're so excited to know that you're such close proximity to the president of the United States, and then you hear this noise, and you hear all of this commotion that jumps off of it's just, you're forever changed. You really are. And perhaps you've been a part of an event that has, I don't want to say scarred you, but perhaps something has scarred you. You know, we talk, the very first one we start with just Faith Hill, Tim McGraw, and and honoring the covenant of marriage and honoring each other's bodies to the point where there's this level of, oh, well, you're famous. I should have full access to you. Let me touch you and grope you. Well, one, that's assault, brother. And there's this element of honoring that covenant, and there's that, and that's serious. But then you go to this great length and you hear about people dying, and 100 people dying from a fire, just going to have a good time. And then you have the John Wilkes Booth assassinating President Lincoln, and then that sparks the funeral service, arguably. You know, you had Civil War, troops that were killed. They were such young people. Of course, they wanted to embalm them so they could get them back. That was whenever it kind of really, I guess, I don't want to say ignited, because it was something in an effort to get the children home. They were children to their parents, wherever they were, so that they could have a proper burial. But then you have the funeral service, of course, after Abraham Lincoln's death. It's a full circle thing. I've always said music and funerals are parallel. Art and funerals. You can't have a beautiful funeral celebration, arguably, without a beautiful song. You can't have a beautiful song without experiencing grief and tragedy and sadness. There's this beautiful dichotomy there. Let me know in the comments below your favorite song that you've ever heard for a funeral. It could be totally unconventional. And also, I would love to know, have you experienced something that's heavy at an experience, such as a show, a concert, a theater performance? And I'm glad you're here. I really am. I always talk about showing up. Show up, because the world needs you to show up. And this is why I'm here. I love so very much bringing to you content that I believe in, because this is fun for me. You know, history and connecting the worlds that I find myself in. And I hope it meets you in a great spot. Be sure to subscribe right here on YouTube. Be sure to click the bell to be notified when I release content exclusive to YouTube. And also know that I have a podcast, You'll Die Trying, releases every Tuesday. And also bonus noise. All of it's in the show notes and description down below. And yeah, we're, for a limited time, as supplies last, we're giving away merch. Like merch, this right here. But you got to purchase a piece of merch. And that's all right here on YouTube. Buy some merch, get some free. Buy some merch, get some free. While supplies last, I will see you at the next video. If you go and see Faith Hill and Tim McGraw, don't grope him or her, but don't grope him.